Hello and welcome everyone. Here we are. We got a discussion video today. I'm going to talk about some of my favorite / some of the cards I think are the best or most interesting cards from Ikora, and they're all kind of from a variety of formats. So we'll talk about them in a little bit different order. So our first card up, it's going to be Narset of the Ancient Way. So this is the fourth card, unique card Narset has had printed. It is her third Planeswalker card, her second card in the Jeskai colors. Now remember, in the she first appeared in Khans of Tarkir as a creature, the 6-mana hexproof first striker 3/2. After that, her next appearance was as a blue-white Planeswalker in the, I believe, Dragons of Tarkir. And then of course we have Narset, Harder of the Veil, which was of course from War of the Spark. And then we have this newest version, which she seems kind of interesting to me. I'm not so sure like how good she actually will be. I just think she's cool. So her plus, you gain 2 life and you get one of the Jeskai colors mana. You can't cast creature spells with this mana. Or -2, you draw a card, then discard a card, or you may discard a card. And when you discard an online card this way, Narset deals damage equal to the card's converted mana cost to target creature or Planeswalker. Really cool way of protecting itself, also fighting its opposing Planeswalkers. I like the fact that you can fight Teferi with this card, or fight, opposing Nissas, stuff like that. And then her -6 is you get an emblem with whenever you cast a non-creature spell, the emblem deals 2 damage to any target. I do like this emblem a lot because it's a lot like Chandra, Torch of Defiance, or Ral Zarek, is it Viceroy, where it's a emblem that can win you the game over time. Hers is a little bit slower than everyone else's, but it's got the ability to kill them. Your anticipate or your whatever becomes a shock. Your counterspell becomes a shock. Stuff like that. I think she's really cool. I think she'll see play in Standard, maybe Pioneer, but I think that's about it. I think she'll be a cool card. Nothing spectacular. Then we have Lukka, Coppercoat Outcast. As far as I know, this is the first time a Lukka Planeswalker has been printed. I couldn't find anyone anywhere else. I'm not too versed with lore in general to know if he's appeared before Ikora. I don't think so, though. And while I want to read the Ikora book, I haven't got a chance to it yet. He's pretty cool interacting with creatures. So his plus allows you to exile top 3 cards of your library. And then creature cards exiled this way gain. You may cast this card from exile as long as you control Lukka Planeswalker. So this is different because this isn't like a lot of cards where it's like until end of turn or stuff like that. This means you can cast these creatures for as long as you control a Lukka Planeswalker. And keep in mind, it doesn't have to be this specific Lukka. It could be a second version. I mean, if we say in the next core set we get he's our red Planeswalker, then that version staying around, so on and so forth. -2, exile target creature you control, then reveal cards from the top of your library. Until you reveal a creature card with higher converted mana cost, put that onto the battlefield and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So this is pretty cool. It's kind of like an Eldritch Evolution / Neoform type card. Like, let's say you're playing a really powerful 6-drop or 7-drop, and you want to turn your 5 or 6-drop into that. That's pretty cool. I really like that. That's kind of interesting. And then -7, each creature you control deals damage equal to its power to each opponent. Also, that one's meh. I don't think he's gonna do too much, but I do think there could be a green-red monsters deck or some kind of monsters deck where his plus and his minus are really, really valuable. I like the idea of playing this thing alongside Ravager Worm and Questing Beast and the Dragon and stuff like that. I think he's got a lot of potential, and he looks cool. I like his design, his big-ass saber-tooth tiger alongside him. And then next up is Vivien, Monsters Advocate. So this is actually the 6th Vivien Planeswalker card printed. Now, of course, you may be thinking, well, she hasn't been printed that many times, has she? Well, she has 2 Planeswalker deck cards. Her home plane is Scala, which we haven't visited that I know of. I'm pretty sure they didn't visit her or Scala in any of the earlier sets. That mostly falls on Dominaria. And she was only first printed in 26 or in 2019's M19 or 2020, yeah, it's M19 2019, which is kind of crazy that she's already got this many different Planeswalker printings. That's got to be a record. Anyway, so she's a lot like the War of the Spark rare Planeswalkers, where she doesn't have a traditional ultimate, but she has two abilities and a static text. So you can look at the top card of your library at any time, and you may cast creature spells from the top of your library. This is super cool. This is a lot like Oracle Medaya being able to place your lands. Also really cool, kind of like Nickel Citadel, really sweet. You can plus it, create a 3/3 green beast creature token, put your choice of vigilance counter, reach counter, or trample counter on it. That's pretty cool. That alone I don't think is great. I think this Planeswalker is going to get played a lot more as you play her for the advantage of being able to play your top card, giving you a virtual extra card in your hand, as well as then being able to make a 3/3 potentially with reach or vigilance that can block and protect you. And then -2, you can cast your next when you cast your next creature spell, search your library for a creature card with less than converted mana cost, put it on the battlefield, and shuffle your library. I think this is gonna be pretty insane. A minus I think is super cool. That's one thing I think she'll be played a lot for the fact that if she just hits the board and you get one free -2, or one activation offer -2, I think it'll be really really good. I really like the art too. Vivien's a really nice drawn planeswalker. I think she's definitely her look. I like it a lot. It's very nice, and all of her little monster companions is cool. It's cool to see an actual monster this time instead of what we normally see out of it. All right, and next up, so we're out of the Planeswalkers now, and we have Droneth Magistrate. I think this card is going to be awesome in Modern, and probably even Legacy and Vintage. Your opponent cast spells from anywhere other than their hands. So this shuts off graveyards, it shuts off the Cascade effects, it shuts off Companion most notably. Don't know if that'll be relevant in Modern, or I mean in Standard, but I think it'll be really good in Modern. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't shut off a lot of things, like for example, cards like Neoform. It's not shutting that off because you're not casting the Gristlebrand from your graveyard. But I think it is cool. I think it's definitely something that I could be wrong. It may not see very much play, but I think it's got a lot of potential. I think it's got a really high ceiling and a really low floor. Super excited about it. Plus, I mean, his art looks pretty cool. I do like his art. It's interesting that he's a 1/3. You know, definitely not going to be your aggressive type creature, but he's pretty cool. The 1/3 body could come in handy in Standard. Only time will tell. So the next card is Heartless Act. So choose one, destroy target creature with no counters on it, or remove up to 3 counters from target creature. Number one, I don't think this card's going to be a super big all-star in Standard. I think it'll be good. I think it'll probably be along the lines of like Go for the Throat, stuff like that. It wasn't Standard where it was played. It was good, but it wasn't overtly overpowered. I don't know if overtly was the word I'm looking for. I'm not an English major, sorry. But yeah, I do think though in Pioneer and even in Modern to some extent, I think this card is going to be kind of the go-to removal spell. So, because it kills most things in Modern and most things in Pioneer, creature-wise. Like that's it right now. Like for example in Jund midrange in Pioneer. A lot of our removal spells are either don't reach high enough to kill what I'm trying to kill, or their sorcery speed. And this would be a nice alternative to cast down. We could definitely play this over cast down most of the time in Pioneer. And same thing in Modern. There's a lot of removals like Terminate. I could play this over Terminate easily. Now, again, the Regenerate clause is not very relevant in Modern right now, but we'll see. All right, so moving on. This one was more of just one I thought was a really cool green card. I don't think this card's actually that good or anything. I just kind of want to talk about it. Charge of the Forever Beast. As just a cost to cast a spell, reveal a creature card from your hand. Charge of the Forever Beast deals damage to target creature or planeswalker equal to the revealed card's power. I think this card's kind of cool. It's a way to fight back against other creatures, and it's a cool way to fight planeswalkers. And I think this card will go into a Simic deck. Potentially of some type. Maybe another one that might be good in a green-red monsters type shell, or a Sultai, or not Sultai, a Teamer monsters, something like that. I think it's very powerful and really unique. I really like the way it is. I can't think of any other green card that's like this. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, go ahead and put it in the comment section below. But I really like it. Yeah, and I mean, again, not much I want to talk about that one. Next one is Chevill, Bane of Monsters. This one is someone who plays Sultai in Standard. I'm incredibly excited about. I absolutely cannot stand mono red. That deck is a nightmare for Sultai half the time. Chevill is a creature that is going to be great in that matchup. He's black and green for a 1/3 Death Touch that says at the beginning of your upkeep, if your opponents control no permanents with bounty counters on them, put a bounty counter on target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. Whenever a permanent opponent controls with a bounty counter on it dies, you get you gain 3 life and draw a card. This is gonna be super cool against mono red aggro. You can bounty on one of their creatures, and then after you untap, kill it. So that's sweet. I really like that a lot. His body's not super impressive, but the death touch can be big. You know. So on top of that, he's a human, so who knows? There could be some kind of Abzan humans deck that comes into play where this is really big being a human. I'm excited. I'm excited for it. All right, the next card is Song of Creation, and this one is the one I think that's going to be play a role potentially in Modern. I think it could be a really cool Storm card. Also, I think it could be really busted in Standard and Pioneer. I really do. You may play in the land, an additional land on each of your turns. Already great. Whenever you cast a spell, draw 2 cards. And the downside is at the beginning of your end step, you discard your hand. Now, so the big thing is obviously you want to draw a lot of spells. You want to be able to cast your spells. But another thing that's really big here is you can play this with a lot of cards like Chemist's Insights, a lot of the other jumpstart cards where you're going to get to cast your spell from the graveyard. So the fact that you discard your hand isn't the end of the world because I cast Radical Idea, and now I draw 2 cards, or I draw 3 cards because I'm drawing. So even if I draw a land for turn, oh well that sucks. Song Creation, I don't get to do anything. Oh well, no, never mind. So I think that's cool. I'm excited about it. I think it's gonna be a really cool card. I also think it could do nothing in Standard, but I think its potential. We could see a modern Storm deck that plays this as kind of a cutesy, or maybe not even cutesy, but a cool way to go off. We'll see. I'm excited for this card. I think it looks really good, and I definitely like the way it looks. You know, I think it's got potential, and it'll definitely be interesting. I definitely have a teamer kind of control idea in Standard I want to try out with it. That could be awesome. So, all right, our next card. Now we're into the companions, and there are only really a couple of these that I'm personally super excited for, but I think like all of them are cool. The 2 I'm super excited for. The first one is Yorin, the Sky Nomad. His contingency, he's your companion based on whether or not you have 80 or more cards in your deck. It says your starting deck contains at least 20 cards more than your minimum deck size. So in constructed, that's 60. So it would be 80 cards for 20 over. So it has flying, and when it enters the battlefield, exile any number of other non-land permanents you own and control. Turn those cards to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step. So this card's really sweet. You can cast it, flicker all your permanents out. They come back into play at the end of the turn. All your non-land permanents. So you can reset planeswalkers. You can re-trigger your end of the battlefield triggers. You can reset Kitchen Finks that have -1/-1 counters. I really like the idea of playing this in like a Kiki Jiki Court of Calling type deck. This card really seems sweet in something like that, and that's it. Like, yes, there's a drawback. Yes, you can't just, playing 80 cards can statistically, like, lessen your deck. But, at the same time, you can play things like Coiling Oracles. You can play things like Icefang Quaddles. Things like this that trigger and draw you cards and help you to filter through your deck so you don't have to play as many lands. You don't have to play as many other cards. And then, of course, this resets it. Like, I think Soul Herder, the blue-white, whenever something end of turn leaves the battle, you exile something, comes back into play. That deck. I think that deck would be super cool with Yorin. I definitely look forward to seeing that one. And the next one, the one I'm honestly the most excited for, is Lurrus of the Dream Den. Again, legendary creature, Cat Knight. Companion. This one is each permanent card in your starting deck has converted mana cost 2 or less. Lifelink, during each of your turns, you may cast 1 permanent spell with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard. So, in a lot of decks, this is going to act like an Emery, Obviously, you can't play Emery with this as your companion, but this will act like an Emery in a lot of decks because you'll be able to redo your baubles or um, any other 0 mana cantrippy type cards or 1 mana cantrip cards that are permanents. But on top of that, I really like this for Death Shadow because you're already incentivized for almost none of your permanents to be more than CMC 2. Yes, you have anglers and taskers, but I guarantee we can find a way to build your shadow deck where you're leaning on Lurrus rather than playing those cards. So, with that being said, I am an absolutely huge fan of this card. You got Snapcasters, you got Jace Vryn's Prodigies, you got Death Shadows, you got things like this that Lurrus can now reoccur every turn, and that's a threat. Like, that's a serious issue. Returning a Death Shadow every single turn, that's tough. That's going to be tough to fight. Also, it's a 3/2 lifelinker, so it's even good in matchups like Burn and things like that for like other mid-range, other low ground decks that are in black or white that aren't going to be what's it called? Death Shadow, where you're choosing to lose a lot of life. Now, I can even see a Jund version playing this. Now, I don't personally like that because for me, the reason I like playing Jund is usually my 3 and 4 drop creatures and planeswalkers. I love Liliana and I love Bloodbraid. Take those away, and Jund's not quite as interesting to me. I'm not saying it's not good. I'm not saying it's possibly not even better. I'm just saying it's not as interesting. Although, who knows? We'll probably try a Jund version with Lurrus, just because I already have like all the other cards for it anyway. All right, and next up, this is an entire cycle. I didn't want to talk about each of them individually because there's no point. The entire Triome cycle. We have, of course, a Sultai land, which is Zagoth or Zagoth or something like that. And then we have the Abzan, Jeskai, Mardu, and Temur one. So we have the Wedge clans, the Wedges or the clans cycle, which, like we talked about inside the our Wedge/Shard week. The Shards were the original sets from Alara that were the 3-color groups, and the Wedges or clans are the Khans of Tarkir group. So it's really cool to see see them come back, but B, possibly foreshadow the fact that we're going to get potentially sometime in the future the other set, the Shards of these, which means we'll see more Jund love, more cards like that. So for me personally, I absolutely love this set. I love it even more the fact that it's a cycling land. You can cycle it, but it is a swamp forest island, which means it's fetchable with shocklands. Or I mean, not shocklands. It's fetchable like shocklands. It's fetchable with your, polluted deltas and such. So I like that. Now, I don't think in Modern you're going to play a bunch of these. I think maybe you might play one. Especially in Jund. I think if Jund gets one, I think they'll definitely want to play one. Temur. I would definitely play one of these in Temur with Ren and 6, just to have the cycle land upside, but also have a tri-land I could fetch on turn 1 if I want. So, don't necessarily it's good, but like I said, I will definitely do it. And then Abzan again, same thing. Having a tri-land on turn 1 is super awesome in Abzan. Potentially maybe in Sultai and Pioneer it could be really cool too, but Pioneer doesn't have again the fetches like we do in Modern. Now we're on to the Ultimatums. The Ultimatums are some of my favorite looking cards in the set. We'll start with Eerie Ultimatum, which, by the way, for anyone that was wondering, I think it was Mark Rosewater who said they would complete a cycle from 10 years ago that fans have been really wanting, and that was the Ultimatum cycles. We had the Ultimatums from Shards block. Now we have these Ultimatums. So return any number of permanent cards with different names from your graveyard to the battlefield. This card's super cool. I really like it. It's got that Command the Dreadhorde feel to it. Super sweet. This one to me is kind of one of the more basic ones. I think it's going to be potentially good, but I think it's more fun and cool than anything else. It definitely encourages more of a singular type deck building, so you don't have a bunch of multiples to really leverage this card to its max. So I don't know. Right now, 6 mana big payoff spells are kind of big, so who knows? Maybe a 7 one might be big too. Then we have our Sultai one, which is Emergent Ultimatum. Search your library for up to 3 monocolored cards with different names, exile them, and opponent chooses one of those cards, shuffles that card into your library. You may cast the other cards without paying their mana cost. So this card's really great because no matter what, you're going to get to cast 2 really big monocolored cards you know, I can see a world where we're just playing something as simple as we just pick a green, blue, and a black big dumb creature and choose to cast one of them. Pick planeswalkers, whatever. I can see a lot happening with this card. I think this card gets more powerful as you get kind of into Pioneer and possibly even into Modern. Again, the 7 mana spell in Modern is kind of hard to pull off. But like I said, I could see a world where this does some really cool stuff. Definitely maybe even a combo world, you know, where you're comboing in some way with it. I saw Saffron Olive from MTG Goldfish post Enter the Infinite, Omniscience, and Jace as a pile for this. Jace, the mill one that you draw cards. If you have no cards in your library, you win the game. That one. I thought that was cool. You know. Alright, so our next ultimatum is Genesis Ultimatum. Look at the top 5 cards of your library, put any number of permanent cards from among them onto the battlefield. The rest into your hand, exile Genesis Ultimatum. I really, really like this card. I think this card would be cool. Again, I talked about green-red monsters or teamer monsters. This card makes me really want to think about playing a teamer monsters deck in Standard and Pioneer. More so Standard than anything else. It looks really cool. Again, not one I think we'll see play into Modern or on. Maybe you might. I guess you could see some kind of Valakut's Titan Scapeshift deck ramping into this and then casting it, but I don't think we're going to see anywhere out of Standard realistically. It is cool though. I do like it a lot. I think it's got beautiful art on it. No human eyes have ever witnessed the birth of an apex monster. That's pretty cool. I didn't read the flavor text. Now, Inspired Ultimatum. So this one's my favorite one, I think, as far as how basic it is. Target player gains 5 life. Inspired Ultimatum deals 5 damage to any target, and then you draw 5 cards. Pretty simple. We're gonna gain 5 life, white, deal 5 damage, red, and draw 5 cards, blue. Pretty straightforward. I think Jeskai Fires and Jeskai Control decks are gonna be super sweet with this card. I think it's gonna be one of those cards that's super freaking annoying with Teferi. Yeah, that's what I'm kind of afraid of. I would even consider playing this card in Modern, just because I like big dumb spells, and this card does a lot. And our next ultimatum and final ultimatum is Ruinous Ultimatum, which is the Mardu one, which is destroy all non-land permanents your opponent's control. This is pretty cool. It is a 7 mana mass board wipe. Gets rid of everything your opponent controls. Super huge that it's one-sided. Honestly, I think this is kind of the worst of all of them, though. I don't think this one's going to see much play. I guess it might. You could see it in some kind of, Mardu mid-range in Standard or Pioneer, even maybe see play. But I don't think so. I think the problem is it just doesn't quite do enough, and it's a little too expensive in a deck, in a color that doesn't really ramp very aggressively or well. So our last cycle after this, though, is our Mythos cycle. And we're going to start with Mythos of Brokkos. So basically, and these are worded kind of weird. So it costs 4 mana, but if you spent blue-black, you search your library for a card and put that card into your graveyard, then you shuffle your library. Then you return up to 2 permanent cards from your graveyard to your hand. So basically what it does is it lets you, if you pay Sultai colors, you get to put a card in the graveyard and then return up to 2 permanents of your choice. So you're basically tutoring for a card to put in your hand for 4 mana. In Standard, I think that's okay. Beyond that, I don't think it's that great. I think this could be a cool card in a Reanimator type deck in Sultai colors. I think that could be cool. But I think this is one of the weaker ones. I think it's got some potential. I think just being able to return 2 permanent cards to your hand from your graveyard to hand could be a huge upside in green decks. So I think it could see some play no matter what. But I'm not too excited about that one. The next one is the Mardu Shard one, which is Mythos of Snapdax. Each player chooses an artifact, a creature, an enchantment, and a planeswalker from among the non-land permanents they control. They sacrifice the rest. If Mardu was spent to cast a spell, you choose the permanents for each player instead. So basically, if you played Mardu, you get to get rid of all your opponents' best ones that they have multiples of. Keep their worst ones. High upside. Pretty average downside though. I don't think it's not like it's super low downside. Because how many times honestly are a lot of players gonna have multiple enchantments or multiple artifacts on the battlefield? Multiple planeswalkers and creatures, yeah, but still. Not a huge fan of these first 2. On to our next one, which is the Jeskai Mythos of Vadrox. Mythos of Vadrox deals 5 damage as you choose among any number of target creatures and or planeswalkers. If Jeskai was spent to cast this spell until your next turn, those permanents can't attack or block, and their activated abilities can't be activated. So this is kind of cool. You can shoot a planeswalker, next turn it can't activate. You can ping a bunch of stuff, and the next turn it can't attack you, and they can't block you on your turn after you cast this. Cool little card. I think it might just end up being more of a 5 mana kill your, just blow up your permanent, blow up your planeswalker, blow up your creature type card. I like this one a lot for the fact that it does some cool stuff, and even just 5 damage to a permanent for 4 red is not the worst thing in the world. And it gets divided, so it could be really good. I'm excited about it though. I'm not sure it's gonna be good, but we'll see. All right, and moving on to the next card is Mythos of Nethroi, and this is one that is really horribly worded. Destroy target non-land permanent if it's a creature, or if Abzan was spent to cast this spell. Basically, what it's saying is you target a non-land permanent. Then, upon resolution, it checks: was Abzan spent? No. Okay, was the permanent a creature? If yes, it's destroyed. If not, nothing happens. So in other words, you can target anything with this you want that's not a land, and then it just checks upon resolution. Was that a creature? Or was green-white spent? Yes. Okay, it doesn't matter. It destroys whatever the permanent was, non-land permanent was. Did you spend green-white? No. Is the target a creature? No. Okay, it's not destroyed. Like I said, really weird wording. I don't know how you template it so it looks better, but I feel like there had to be a way. Anyway, that's it. So basically, for 2 and a black, you can target any non-land permanent. However, it will only get destroyed if it is a creature. However, if you pay Abzan colored mana, you can then target any permanent and destroy any non-land permanent, and then you can destroy any non-land permanent. And then the final one, which is honestly my favorite, Mythos of Illuna. This one is sweet. Create a token that's a copy of target permanent. If red and green was spent to cast a spell, instead create a token that's a copy of that permanent, except the token has, when this permanent enters the battlefield, if it's a creature, it fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. Again, I was talking about that Teamer Monsters deck. This is a card I really want to play in that. I would really like to see it go off. I think this card's really cool. And take in mind, it's create a token that's a copy of target permanent. I can target your land and make a copy of it. I can target your planeswalker and make a copy of it. Yes, it only gets the extra ability if it's a creature, and I spent Teamer. But this can be played in mono blue just to make a copy of one of your opponent's things. I think it's going to be a super cool sideboard card against control decks and stuff like that, where they have a big planeswalker that's their haymaker to win. The only downside is it does target, so like Dream Trawler can give itself hexproof to prevent this from happening, things like that. But with that being said, I am a huge fan of this set. I think it's got a lot of really sweet cards. Let me know what you guys think. What are some of your guys' favorite cards in the set? What are some of your guys' cards you really want to play with? Some of the cards you couldn't care less to play with. Do you guys like when I do discussion stuff like this? Do you guys want me to do more of it? Do you not care? Because I really do. I started this channel originally to do more content that was a mixture of playing Magic along with other games and talking about different topics. So I definitely want to branch out and even do non-Magic related topics. Obviously, they'll never replace my Magic content. That's what this channel has made. We're at 400 subscribers, so there's no way I'm going to stop making Magic content for any time in the near future. As long as I'm financially and physically able to, I will continue doing it. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate you so much. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let me know what you think of the set. And yeah, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day or night whenever you're watching this. And I hope you guys enjoy your release. I hope you guys enjoy the sets. And yeah, let me know what you guys are thinking in the comment section below.